Well, hi, everybody. Before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you a little bit more about me, especially if you are new to the podcast. I am Marcy Marcusa. I am a prairie kid. I was born and raised in Winnipeg. I'm the kind of person that loves visiting a bigger place, but I do like coming home to the prairies. I grew up in suburbia in NK, North Kildonan. Family's got roots, though, in the North End. And they won't let you forget it. Talk a lot about Selkirk Avenue. I grew up going to Dufferin Avenue. That's where my grandparents settled. Big Ukrainian family. My Ukrainian Dito actually worked for the city of Winnipeg. My claim to fame is I have a sticker for Winnipeg Centennial on my birth certificate because that was the year of Winnipeg's year. Today I live south of the tracks. I make mean tortilla thanks to my French-Canadian husband. Journalistically, I cut my teeth in rural Manitoba, actually, in the 1997 flood. I moved to Steinbach to work in radio, mostly because I could have been offered a job in the city, but I took one in the rural area because I didn't want to get perimeteritis with my reporting. Because if you live in this province, then you know there's a difference, whether you're living in the city of Winnipeg or Brandon or Thompson or somewhere in the rural parts of Manitoba. I love the big sky. I love the four seasons of the prairies. I don't even mind winter so much. And my job has been really awesome. I've traveled as north as Fox Lake, which is pretty much the top, and all the way down to Emerson and pretty much everywhere in between. I host CBC Manitoba's radio morning show, Information Radio. This year, it'll be 25 years with CBC and all of them spent here at home. It's a hard place to let go of, and I feel lucky. So I also, of course, host the podcast. So if you're listening and you live near me, or maybe you live further east or west, we want your story ideas because we care about what's happening in your communities, and we care about what's happening in our community. So you can email us, thisismanitoba@cbc.ca. And one more thing, please make sure you're following This is Manitoba on your favorite podcast app. All right, I talked too much. Part of why I've been working in broadcasting all this time, but enough about me. Let's get to today's episode.
No, that's not realistic whatsoever. A lot of people have more than just one child. And so imagine having to take a toddler out of the car seat, and especially with the laws, right, taking off the jackets and everything, then you're having to put on the jackets and try to hustle your kid into school, and that's way more than just 1 minute.
That is Aradia Gibbons. Now, she has parked her car outside École Laveranderie in Fort Rouge. That's an elementary school. You might know it. It's got a population of 230 students from nursery to grade 6, and there's a staff there of around 30 people. Now, Aradia, though, like a lot of parents, is there to pick up her kids after the day's lessons. Something that she says is not possible to do in 1 minute or less. That 1 minute goal is the subject of a new proposal being considered right now by City Hall, where parents would stop, drop, and go in designated drop-off and pick-up areas at schools within this strict time limit. So take more time and you could actually be ticketed. Today on the podcast, we're looking at the plan. We're looking at why one city councillor says it's necessary, and then also what more of the public reaction's been like. CBC's Jim Agapito spoke with Aradia and actually two other Laveranderie parents during the pickup rush. And the consensus, this is not going to work.
No, I don't think that's safe at all to just be rushing. And a big part of pickup is community. So you'd be missing out on a little chat with the teacher or checking in with the other friends of your kids. So no, I don't think that's safe.
Is it an issue right now, you think?
It is an issue that you like getting close, or traffic wise, like I've seen cars do risky things going around buses, or the stop signs out and they're still trying to get around. So there is an issue, yes.
Yeah, absolutely not. Especially in an elementary school, parents need the opportunity to come, talk to the teacher, see how their child's day went, make sure they have all their items. And people like hanging out and talking. It's a community. So in elementary school, it's all about community, getting to know people. So basically you're taking that away from families if you make them leave. And also, how are you even going to enforce that? So are you going to have security guards here moving people off the premises? I just don't think it's realistic.
So why does Councillor Markus Chambers think this proposal is the way to go to reduce congestion outside of schools? He told me where the idea came from.
Well, every year that the school year starts, counselors are inundated with calls from area residents talking about the issue of drop off and pickup. Oftentimes their driveways are blocked. Oftentimes there's exhaust fumes. Oftentimes there's unsafe maneuvers that are happening in school zones. So this is a constant conversation year round, year after year, that we're trying to resolve through something of a more efficient service.
And why do you think 1 minute is long enough and a good way to do this?
Well, if kids are organized in the car on the way to school, they have their backpacks, their school books, their runners, their, whatever accessory they need for the school day. As long as they're organized in the car on the way to school, a minute it should be sufficient time to get your kid out of the car or pick them up at the end of the day. To sit around and linger like that, that's where we're seeing some of these increased, unsafe issues happening within that school zone.
So when you hear a parent, and we just heard from a parent, they're talking about the lingering, but, describing it as being important for community building and socializing at pick up and drop off, with parents and teachers. What is your message to, what you're thinking when you hear that?
And I do get the part of community. I mean, I'm always about community, but, we are looking at trying to make it safe for school patrols, for other students that are, coming in, whether they're riding their bikes or walking to school. We want to make sure that the school zones are safe. So from that perspective, I think, hearing what residents have to say, having our public service, our Winnipeg Parking Authority go out and taking a look in terms of where applicable school zones can be utilized, and then working with the school divisions and working with the parents, coming up with a system that is efficient and safe.
I'll ask you in a moment specifically what you're asking city staff to do, but actually we do have a clip from Alan Campbell. He's president of the Manitoba School Boards Association.
The fact that most schools don't have like a designated drop-off lane that's mostly happening on the curb, on the street in front of the school. In addition to that reality, you have winter. And so you have kids that are clamoring to get out of their cars, and you have parents that are clamoring to get out of the zone within the minute deadline. That's just a recipe for disaster.
So what are your thoughts on his comments that especially when we don't have, all schools don't have sort of a designated area, and even when there are designated areas, there can be problems, that the idea and looking at this across the board is going to be, in his words, a quote, disaster?
Well, and again, and I thank Alan for his comments. I mean, it is a matter of making sure that our public service is looking at all of those options, looking at pickup and drop-off zones that currently exist, looking at schools schools that don't have adequate zones within their proximity, finding a way to make a fair balance in terms of, like I said, efficiency and safety is of the utmost. Like I said, if kids are organized on the way to school, up to a minute long should be sufficient to get them out of the car, having a teacher there to receive them, and then they're on their way.
What are you specifically asking city staff to do, to be clear here? Because if they're going out to assess the situation, are they assessing because you're going to build more school zones for pickups and drop-offs? Are they looking at where 1 minute is feasible, or what are they going to be doing in this next phase here?
Yeah, looking at the how practical it would be to implement this across all school zones, and recognizing not all schools are the same or their locations are not the same, but finding something that's the most practicable for them to establish that drop-off zone that, again, keeps school patrols safe and all of the other kids that are entering that school zone.
How would the city go about enforcing this plan? Because you mentioned, some expectation on school staff and teachers for helping out.
Well, the first part is education, making sure that parents are well aware of what their responsibilities are as they're entering that school zone. And then, as everybody is educated towards the protocols that are in place, then the enforcement comes for those that are non-compliant.
And the enforcement from whom, and how would that even be articulated, or are people facing fines? Like, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, the parking authority, the teachers can again, should have the authority to have cars moving along quickly. And again, if they're not in compliance, jotting down that license plates and sending it on into the Winnipeg Public Parking Authority.
Kev Roberts wrote to CBC, schools don't have the staffing to deal with this. Resources can be better spent. We really just need more adults helping kids learn to read, not policing drop-offs.
Well, the comments that I hear day in, day out, on an annual basis, this is problematic. And it's something that, again, in River Park South, unfortunately, a couple of days back, we had a young child that was struck by a vehicle. Recognizing this is winter and we've got snowbanks that are kind of piling high, it is a matter about safety. It is trying to make this system more safe so that less kids are impacted, as they're in school zones or, like I said, riding their bikes or just walking to school.
While it sounds like this idea is not popular among parents of young children, there are strong opinions on either side. Some agree with Councillor Chambers that concerns about limiting drop-off and pickup times are overblown. Here are a few of the calls that we received arguing that these kinds of restrictions could be a really good thing.
Having been a parent and raised my kids and seeing what a disaster this can be around some schools, I really question whether safety really is the issue, because if that was the case, you wouldn't have any zones near the school where people could stop and park. Unless you're handicapped, you don't need to be dropped off at the door. I would always take my kids to the end of the schoolyard or past into a residential area, park there and walk my kids in. It's way safer. And if they have to walk for 2 minutes, even in the cold, it's going to be fine. They're dressed for it.
Hey everyone, it's Dan Jansen. I think this school drop-off thing is a serious matter, and I don't know why parents can't park further down on a street and just walk their kids to school. This is the typical helicopter parents thing where they have to bring their kids right to the door. In my days, we'd walk to school. I know it's the old joke about, 3 miles uphill both ways, but it's just getting ridiculous here. And it's not a time to socialize. It's a time to drop your kid off and get on with your day.
Whatever side of the issue that you're on here, the reality is congestion in school zones is a problem. I posted this on Facebook and I have so many comments. Some schools, in fact, have already taken it upon themselves to find some solutions. So École Sage Creek Bonavista is one of them. It is a K-8 French immersion school. It's an elementary school. And you guessed it, it's in the Sage Creek neighborhood. They've actually implemented their own pickup and drop-off plan to reduce traffic chaos before and after school. Jim Agapito was there as well. He spoke with Principal Cam Johnson, and he explained what kind of approach his school has taken and why.
The idea of looking at pickup and drop-off as a significant part of the school day that is actually happening outside of the bells, I think is super important because there's a lot of traffic, there's a lot of kids trying to get into school. Parents that are in a hurry as well. So doing it methodically, doing it with intention and having a good flow, I think is super important. So I think at least the conversation and then what comes from that conversation will be better than nothing.
What is your school currently trying to do to make pickups and drop-offs more efficient?
We're really lucky here in the new school. It was designed with that in mind. We're very fortunate here that we have a loop, like a serpentine loop that kind of comes around the front of the school and the bus loop that's distinct and separate from that. So we're really lucky here. Again, it is that with intention and planning process. The first couple of days, there were long lineups. We had a lot of congestion, but then quickly we make the tweaks that are necessary and then increase the flow, message out to community. So we've been really lucky here this year, and we've seen community come together to make it work as well.
How many, cars would you say are lined up in front of the school if you were to estimate? And what is the time frame? Like how many minutes are we going? How many students are coming in?
So we have 820 students in the building from K to 8. And there's a lot of buses. We have 9 buses, I believe it is. And I don't know how many cars there would be, whether it's 30 or 40 or 100, which is not a ridiculous number here. So our dismissal bell is at 3:10, and parents start arriving at 3 or shortly after 3, and it gets quite full, that whole loop, and it might back up a little bit in both directions on the street. But bell rings at 3:10, and by 3:20, 3:22, it's pretty much done. It takes a lot of coordination, and truth be told, it wasn't me that did a whole lot of it. It's really the staff and teachers that are right there. So again, the design of this building is such that before the bell even rings, they're in learning communities and in areas that kind of get organized within themselves. And so that team of teachers has figured out a system of who's going when and first and at what time, and then the handoffs to parents. We are also in a building that has multiple entries and exits, which helps that process as well. So seeing how it was in those first couple of days, which was quite a thing, and then reacting to that and then making it better really through those smaller teams working together and then communicating with us that has the bigger picture, and then being able to communicate it out to families. That seemed to really work well. It can become chaotic for sure. It's almost not competitive, but something like that where you don't want to lose your spot in the queue, but also as you don't want to take someone else's spot, or you can feel the pressure of people around you. So there is the consideration to plan for of just human nature, I think, in those types of situations. So when you have the opportunity like we did, which is not necessarily the case in a lot of places, to plan for that, that's super important. And then the regular communication with families on with visuals on where to go and how to do it, and open the door for feedback as well. And I think that those are super important parts of the process.
But now that we've heard from the principal, what do the parents of students at that school think of the program? Is it working for them? Well, Jennifer Lowe McKelney also shared her thoughts with Jim.
I really appreciate how they have the bus pickup on a different area of the school than the family vehicle pickup and drop-off area. I think that helps a lot. I also think there are some rooms for improvement, and I'm looking forward to seeing that happen soon.
As a resident in this area, what's it been like?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of really patient parents and a lot of really patient community members. However, we are seeing some backups in the front of the school, through the roundabout, and down the road.
Love it or hate it, last week this proposal crossed its first hurdle. It was passed by the Riel Community Committee. So next, the motion goes to the city's Public Works Committee, and then we'll see if it's going to be gone in 60 seconds or if you'll have to be. I'm Marcy Markusa. That's it for the podcast. We're back with another episode next week. Thanks for listening.